Hey guys, welcome back to Fixation.
We're your host. I'm Courtney.
And I'm Rose.
And this week we're going to be recapping the 2024 rom-com The Idea of You, starring Anne Hathaway and Nicholas Galanzine.
Yeah.
Galanzine.
Yep, him. He's in there. That guy. Nicky G.
Yes.
As he likes to be called in some circles.
We don't know that for a fact, but again, like we always say, you can personally tell me not to do that. So,
Mr. Nicholas G, you can come ring on my doorbell anytime you want and come and correct me. Please tell us how to pronounce your name.
Yes.
Did you know this is based on a Harry Styles fan fiction? This is like a Wattpad story.
No, I knew it was a story because I saw Anne Hathaway on the late night show and she had asked the audience, she's like, who here has read the book? And everyone was just dead silent. And she's like, all right, so not readers, but okay.
I feel like reading fan fiction is a very niche thing. It's not like a wide phenomenon. Like I don't read fan fiction just because I just never got into it.
No, I feel like fan fiction really started to become like a big thing when I was in high school. I'm sure it was a thing before then, but I feel like it really started to become like really well known when I was in high school, but I never really got into it. I felt like it was like cheating on the authors. There's a lot of really popular fan fiction. Like I was talking to Mackenzie from Plot Peak. Mm-hmm. She's like, you need to read Manacled, which is a Harry Potter fan fiction. She's like, it's going to break you.
I know. I've heard of that. Yeah, that's like a Hermione Granger and Draco Malfoy love story or whatever. By the way, shout out to Plot Peak podcast. Mm-hmm. We call them our sister podcast.
They're like us with hope in their eyes.
Oh my God. They're like us if we still had light left inside of us. There are these two adorable girls and they recap books. Go check them out. They're a new podcast. They definitely deserve more listeners.
Yeah, they're adorable. I love them.
Yeah. So speaking of Anne Hathaway, she has said in many, many interviews that she enjoyed making this film so much and it was such a great experience. And after watching it, I'm like, I'm sure you did, Annie. I'm sure you did.
Who wouldn't love making this film?
Yeah. But we don't get to see very often a romantic movie with the older woman being portrayed like she is, because she is portrayed like a hot mama.
Well, first of all, she is a hot mom. She does have children. But also, Anne Hathaway hasn't aged at all. She looks the exact same as she always has. And it really pisses me off when actresses don't age. Like Reese Witherspoon hasn't aged. Anne Hathaway hasn't aged. And I know it's because they have the ability to make sure it looks like they don't age. You know what I mean?
They're just aging really well. And I think they're aging well because they're not trying to stop aging. To be honest, this is what women in their 40s look like, except, you know, being super skinny and fit. That's not super common. But like in general, women in their 40s are not old hags. You know what I mean? Like I'm almost 40 and excuse me, I'm old hag adjacent, but I'm not an old hag.
The cable guy still asks for your mom. So they still ask for an adult. How often do you get carded when you go somewhere?
I think the law in Virginia is if someone doesn't straight up look like they are in elderly care, you have to card them. So I think everybody gets carded.
So the answer is every time.
I always get carded.
So we have Selene, played by Anne Hathaway. She is a 40-year-old divorcee and mother of a teenage daughter. It's Selene's 40th birthday weekend. She is so pumped. She is going on a solo camping trip in the woods. She's picking bear. She's like, listen, I'm going to go on this camping trip. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to go connect with nature. It's going to be great.
Selene's starting to feel the empty nest syndrome creeping up. And she's like, you know what? Soon I'm going to be alone and I need to figure out who I am. And so she wants to have her eat, pray, love moment. And now that I think about it, she did. Like she did do that, but put a pin in that.
Yeah. And her daughter and her friends are going to Coachella with Selene's ex-husband.
Right off the bat, we can assume that Selene's ex-husband has money because he bought their daughter a VIP meet and greet ticket to Coachella. And let me tell you, only rich people have fun at Coachella, okay? Because the poor people are camping in the desert, sleeping on the floor, and the rich people are getting driven in and taken to VIP.
Yeah, the poor people are shitting in holes, okay? The porta potties are for the rich people.
Yes.
Selene takes her daughter and a car full of kids to her ex-husband's house where he lives with his new wife. She drops her daughter off, and Celine goes back home to pack for her camping trip. And as she's loading up her car to leave, who pulls up in that driveway, Rose? Who pulls up in front of that house?
Celine's ex-husband pulls up with a car full of kids and he's like, hey, listen, I need you to take them to Coachella because emergency at work and reasons. Like plot, you know what I mean? The plot is plotting right now and I just can't take these kids to Coachella, so you have to.
Yeah. And Celine's like, can't your wife take them? He's like, oh no, she's coming to Houston with me. I know it's your birthday weekend and everything. Actually, he probably doesn't. He probably fucking forgot.
Hate him. We hate the husband, ex-husband.
Yes, we hate the ex-husband. He's a dick. But he's like, here's the tickets. Here's everything. Have fun. Yeah. So Celine has to cancel her whole freaking birthday weekend.
Yeah, she has to cancel all her plans that she had to find herself. And now she has to go to Coachella, which honestly sounds like a fucking nightmare. I would be pissed. I would be like, get an Uber or something because this sounds like a nightmare. But she takes it in stride and she gets her VIP pass and she heads to Coachella with the kids. And the teenagers disperse to go do their own thing. And so Celine goes to like some sort of like little VIP waiting area or something, air conditioned, just like a luxury we couldn't imagine.
So the band with the meet and greet passes is a typical boy band. Okay. It's like 5 guys. They're all in like their early to mid 20s. They do the typical boy band music, you know, and God, I miss boy bands.
I know. Yeah. They do the whole like humping the air move and the really vague poppy love songs. And I love how boy bands always have one guy for each flavor.
They have to do that. You have to widen the net because if you don't widen the net, you're going to lessen your audience.
Yeah. The band is called August Moon. What do you think of that name?
It reminds me of the song Strawberry Wine.
Okay.
In Strawberry Wine, it's the hot July moon, but still, like month and moon just reminds me of Dina Carter. Yeah, I don't know. It's not a bad name.
It's not, but this band is very obviously based on One Direction because that is what the fan fiction, the original source material is based on. So I thought that was interesting.
So Lynn, she goes to find the bathroom. She takes a wrong turn.
So Lynn walks out in the back of this building she was in, and there's a field full of trailers. What about that says this is a public bathroom area?
Well, have you seen the new porta potties?
No, I guess I haven't.
Okay, so they look like trailers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like they're not these little stalls. There's like stairs that go up and there's like 2 doors on each, like a door on each side. It looks like an actual bathroom, those stalls and sinks.
Oh, okay.
And she actually ends up in Mr. Hayes Campbell's trailer. Hayes Campbell is the lead singer of August Moon.
It was just very convenient that she just happens to walk up to a very specific trailer and go in to that trailer and knock on the bathroom door and someone's in there. Someone's using the bathroom. So she thinks she's just waiting out there like a regular person in line at the bathroom. But this isn't the bathroom. I guess spoiler alert.
And it is not. When Hayes Campbell is done using the bathroom, he comes out and he shooketh to find this woman in his trailer.
And she's also a little bit rude because he's in the way, kind of staring at her because he's thinking, what are you doing in my trailer? And she's thinking, get out of the way. I've got to pee.
So she goes in, she uses the bathroom, she comes out and he's still there. And she's like, why are you still here, dude?
She starts shaming him. She's like, are you one of those weird ASMR people that like to hear people pee? And first of all, let's not kink shame, okay? If that's someone's thing, they're not hurting anyone, okay?
You know what? They're not. I mean, maybe get your stuff online. Don't do it in public. Like, we don't have to share in your kink.
Right.
Like maybe slip her 20 or something.
Yeah. So at this point, the guy reveals who he is. He's like, my name is Hayes Campbell. This is my trailer. And now Celine is embarrassed, as she should be, honestly.
And she's like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. He's like totally unbothered though. Just completely unbothered that some random woman just came and peed in his trailer.
Well, did you see when she was walking up to the trailer, she walked right past security and not a goddamn person stopped her? She could have been a psychopath.
That's true. She could have been a psycho.
So Hayes, first of all, we need to talk about Hayes, okay? So the actor that plays Hayes Campbell, he is the same actor that was in the movie Purple Hearts, which we recapped. And let me tell you, in Purple Hearts, he plays a Marine and he is just like oozing sex appeal. I didn't so much feel him oozing that sort of sex appeal in this movie. So I don't know why the vibes were a little different.
See, I felt him oozing that sex appeal at the end of this movie.
Yes.
5 years later, Hayes Campbell's, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
The young, wild Hayes Campbell looks like he needs a good night's sleep and some vitamin C.
He does. Yeah. So this kid is like, what, 24 years old. He's the member of the world's biggest pop band at the time. And very obviously, they are One Direction. And very obviously, Hayes is supposed to be Harry Styles. And so this guy, Hayes, I don't know, like he has like kind of a little bit of a humble aura. And honestly, that's not that sexy.
Listen, we said it once and I'll say it again. I need some red flags.
Yeah.
Hayes isn't throwing me any.
Nope. He was so polite when this random woman broke into his trailer to pee in his toilet seat and then came out and immediately accused him of having a weird kink of listening to her pee. Like, can you imagine? He wasn't even rude to her. I would have been like, okay, I'm going to stop you right there. You old ass burglar. Like, fucking breaking into my goddamn...
He could have came out of the bathroom and been like, security, security.
You know what I'm saying? So he was very kind. And not just that, after Solene realizes, oh my God, I just broke into his trailer, she doesn't seem that sorry, but she does go to leave and he invites her to stay for drinks.
Yeah, and she doesn't leave right away. I mean, she declines the drinks. She's like, I'm driving. I probably shouldn't. But she doesn't leave right away. She lingers. She meanders.
I think she's intrigued by him being intrigued. But did you notice that in a very casual sentence, she reveals everything about herself? She says, I can't drink because I'm the designated driver for my daughter because my ex-husband bought her VIP tickets and then he bailed. So now I'm here. And I'm like, girl, you just said a whole lot of exposition in one sentence.
She's just laying it all out there. Like, hey, listen, like, you don't want to date me. I'm a divorcee with a daughter who's old enough to go to Coachella.
Yeah. So she thinks she's scaring him away, but it's not working. So Hayes, by the way, he has a British accent, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that when I saw a preview of this movie and I heard him say in a British accent, you're kind of hot or whatever, I immediately said, that is the worst British accent I've ever heard in my life.
He's actually British.
And he's actually fucking British. I heard about it afterwards, like he's actually British. And I'm like, oh, it's still like literally if anybody else, if someone who didn't have a British accent was speaking in that exact same voice and tone, people would be like, that is the fakest fucking British accent I've ever heard.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not good with being like, that's a fake accent when like they're actually putting the work into it.
At some point, his people come knocking on his door. They're like, Hayes, the meet and greet is ready for you. So Solène slips out of the trailer and she goes to the VIP meet and greet section.
Her daughter and her daughter's friends meet her there. They're a little bit late. And while Solène is waiting for the kids to get there, her and Hayes are making some goo-goo eyes at each other. But the kids get there and they go up for their chance to meet the band. Hayes is still trying to hit on mom. It's so funny because Hayes doesn't even know her name.
He doesn't.
And he's asked her for it and she just sidestepped it. She just completely ignored the question. One of the band members is like, so are you big sister? Solène goes, no, I'm mom. And he goes, you don't look like my mom.
Yes. And you know what? Once again, Solène finds a way to like just quickly inject like some exposition there. And she very casually mentions, oh yeah, I'm just a mom. I own a contemporary art gallery in such and such city. I'm like, girl, all right, I see what you're doing. You're just sprinkling a little information. Take it or leave it. This is where I spend my days, you know, if you wanted to hit me up.
And the charismatic band member is like, Hayes fucking loves art. He goes to art galleries all the time.
Yeah, he loves art. He loves moms.
It's giving Young Gravy.
It is.
Young Gravy loves moms.
Young Gravy, is he a rapper? He's like a TikTok rapper.
Young Gravy's not just a rapper. He has actual songs. Frank loves Young Gravy.
Okay.
I'll have Frank explain Young Gravy to you.
I'll put that in my calendar because no, actually it's full. It's totally full. There's no time.
There's no time for Young Gravy, for Frank to explain Young Gravy.
No.
But Young Gravy's also like 6'8".
Okay, wait. A slot just opened up in my calendar.
Young Gravy's like 6'8".
Okay.
Blonde.
All right. No, listen, I actually have 2 slots open. Frank, hit me up. I need to hear more. But yeah, Hayes is very obviously intrigued by Selene and he gets her to say her name. And meanwhile, there's a line of people waiting for this meet and greet and they get held up until Hayes and the rest of the band members get taken to the stage. I would be mad.
If I paid for a meet and greet and there was no meeting or greeting, I would pitch a fit. I would pitch a fit.
I would go to his trailer to pee and not in the bathroom.
Rose just squatting on his pillow.
Allegedly.
Listen, I'm slashing some tires. You ain't going nowhere. You're going to have a lot of time after this concert. But the concert starts and August Moon, the band, they're playing. They're up there. They're doing their boy band thing. They're doing their air humping, their hip thrusting. Yeah. Okay. They're doing the thing. And mid set list, Hayes pauses. He talks to the band. They have a little huddle, little powwow, and they chat. And they change the song that they were going to do to where it's Hayes is doing this song.
It looked like they were getting ready to do another pop song because that was their music is very poppy. And actually, it sounds very AI generated. Their songs are like, it was written by a thing that knows the concept of feelings, but has never actually felt anything before. That's what their songs sound like.
But they're catchy though, the beats.
Oh, the beats are catchy, but the lyrics, I'm a lyric girl. So I'm listening to the lyrics and I'm like, you don't know what feelings are. You were written by a computer.
See, Christian rock gets me all the time because I'll be like, this is a bop. And then they'll be like, Jesus. I'm like, God damn it, not again.
They get you every time, girl.
But yes, it does. The lyrics do feel very AI generated. But this song that Hayes starts singing, it's called Closer. It's about how he just wants to get to know this woman. And he says, before he starts the song, he says he met somebody tonight and this is for her. It says how he just wants to get closer to her, even if she's a little bit older.
As he's singing it, Hayes is looking at Selene in the audience, like he's singing it to her. And you could see that she gets kind of blushy. So the lyric is, I know that you're a little bit older, but baby, rest your head on my shoulder. And Courtney, I was watching this movie on my laptop in my office and I say out loud, boy, I will snap your back in two. Tell me why my husband, who works from home and his office is next to mine, he says, what the hell? Because he heard me say that out loud. He was like, what the hell? And I was like, sorry.
Not you, babe. Not you. Today. Not you today. No, okay, listen, I have questions about this song. I don't know why these were not red flags. I don't know why this song wasn't a red flag for Selene, to where he just has this song about older women on deck. Did he just make this up on the fly? Did he write it between the time that you were pissing in his trailer and that everybody was rushing him everywhere?
Yeah.
When did he write this song?
Exactly.
He must have already had it.
Right. Which means if he already had this song, it was about someone else who was a little bit older and he wanted them to rest their head on his shoulder.
Well, after Coachella, the next day, Selene's just back at her little art gallery, doing her little art gallery shit, being a little boss, girl bossing. And one of her employees comes in and says, Selene, we need you up front. And she's like, all right, give me a second. And the employee says, no, now. We need you up front now.
Yeah, her employees are acting really weird. And when Selene comes out, she sees why. Hayes is standing in her art gallery. I need to talk about what he's wearing because it's fucking ridiculous. He's wearing like sweatpants, a white tank top, and this large furry cardigan type thing.
Yeah. I guess when you're the lead singer of a pop band, you can wear whatever you want. I mean, Harry Styles does wear some outlandish shit.
Yeah. There's a line of paparazzi already gathering outside of this art gallery.
And Hayes is just like, yeah, I came to buy some art. Please show me some art.
I love art. So Selene shows him in the back of the art gallery where she has pottery. She has a pottery collection from an artist. And he goes, that's great. I'll take all of these. And she's flabbergasted. Like he's buying all of the pottery. Like that's huge. To sell an entire collection is really big.
Yeah. And he's like, show me something else. So she shows him something else. And she's like, she's doing the art gallery thing, she's explaining all the artists and all the art.
He says, yeah, I'll take all of it. I'll take everything here. So he essentially buys out the whole gallery. And instead of being elated and excited because this is kind of a gallery owner's dream, she's annoyed because she's like, hey, listen, this is real art by real artists and you're just buying them like they're apples.
And he says, first of all, you've never seen me buy apples.
Oh, damn.
So several seats. And he's like, no, I actually enjoy art. So there.
Yeah. And then to prove that point, he also says, I actually want to see more art. Do you have anything else?
And she says, no, not here because you bought everything. But I do have a friend who has a warehouse in Glendale. So if you want to have your driver come, I can take you.
He's like, you know what? We can just go in your car. And so they do. He gets in her car. He puts the seat all the way back so the paparazzi doesn't catch him.
She takes him to this warehouse. First of all, I have an issue because this is not a warehouse. That is a storage unit.
It is a storage unit. You're right. But then also, he just went to the middle of nowhere, Glendale, with a woman he doesn't even know. And I'm just like, his security needs to be
fired.
Yeah, his security needs to be fired. And I'm thinking also, like, here in America, millionaires are just walking around the street. And I'm like, brah, if this was Mexico, he would have been kidnapped for ransom day one.
When they go to this warehouse, she's showing him all of her friend's art, and she shows him this gorgeous sort of like trippy, dreamlike nature painting.
Yeah, so that's a painting by one of her good friends, and Celine is very obviously obsessed with this painting. When Hayes asks her what she feels when she looks at it, she is just kind of lost in the moment as she tries to gather the words, and then she just says everything.
And to be fair, it is a beautiful painting.
It is very beautiful.
Celine realizes like, oh, things have gotten a little too deep.
He really is asking a lot about her. Like, he's trying to get to know her. And when she's done showing him everything she can at the warehouse, he's still trying to extend their time together.
He's like, should we go get something to eat? Let's go get lunch.
And she goes, what are we doing here? Like, I'm not sure what we're doing here.
And he's like, I'm just trying to get to know you.
Yeah, he says, I don't meet people like you very often. Most people act like they already know me. And then he says, and I think you're smart and you're hot or whatever. And he's like, hot or whatever. And that was the line that I was like, that accent ain't real. Someone do a background check on this guy. I don't think he's British. I don't think he's really British.
They go to leave to go to lunch, and they're at a stoplight, and the people in the car next to them are taking pictures. So Len looks over and sees them, and she's like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to take you to my house and make you a sandwich. First of all, that is the mommest thing you've ever said.
I know. I definitely felt it in the moment where it's like, you can't expect me to be horny for you when I have to make you lunch. Do you understand that that is the bane of my existence, having to like make several meals a day because my kids are constantly hungry?
Well, and listen, her making him a sandwich definitely made him horny though.
So I think her seeing these people next to them at the red light, taking pictures of him, it really sank in like, oh, he's not just a random 24-year-old guy. He's famous. We can't just go anywhere without being bombarded by fans and paparazzi. So yeah, they basically have to go to her house just to eat.
Yeah. Unfortunately, her fridge had stopped working. So before she can make a sandwich, they have to clean out the refrigerator.
I love this. It was such a real thing to have happened because fridges always do that shit, man. Fridges don't care if you're horny. Fridges don't care if you're trying to get it in. They're like, oh, today's the day I broke, and now you have to deal with it.
Yeah, well, that's what she says. She's like, we have to separate them into hazmat and salvageable. He's like, but my sandwich.
Yeah, that was a really cute scene. The fact that he has to help her sort through her fridge. And so essentially his job as she pulls out the ingredients to make the sandwich is to sniff through everything and kind of sort it between like, this goes in the trash and this goes in the cooler. I don't know why I just loved that scene. I felt like it was such a real life thing to happen.
Yeah.
The fact that he was so game, because he literally said, like, put me to work. I can do this.
Yeah. And I think it's because, I don't know, is this what happens when you get rich? Is that you strive for normalcy?
I do think that Hayes sorting through Celine's fridge and helping her figure out what was bad and what wasn't, that was an important scene in my eyes, because for a 40-year-old woman, what is sexier than a man saying, put me to work? What can I do to help? What is sexier than a man doing the chores without being asked to?
Right.
That's it. He had it in the bag. Like the second he did that, honey.
Do you want to know how he had it in the bag? He's had practice.
Oh, yeah, that's true. He's dated older women before.
He's a cougar catcher.
He's a cougar trap. Let me tell you.
You could trap me.
Do that to me? You tell me you're going to help me sort through my fridge, boy?
Baby.
So after Hayes helps sort the fridge contents and Celine makes him a sandwich, they sit and they what?
I know. I just every time I hear sandwich, I just think of her in the car like, I'll take you to my house. I'll make you a sandwich. It's just it was so mom.
It was, yeah, totally.
She might as well have said, do you have McDonald's money?
That's so true. Yeah. So
we have food at home.
Yeah, exactly. You want to go out and buy a sandwich? No, we have sandwiches at home. So yeah, they sit around the kitchen table and they eat their sandwiches and he's asking about her. I don't know. Okay, this is what I have to say about this. By this point, with them sitting at this kitchen table, eating the sandwich, staring into each other's eyes, alone in her, in her house, I'm realizing that I'm not really feeling the sexual chemistry at this point in time.
No, it feels more not maternal. Mm-hmm. It definitely feels more like boss employee. It does not feel sexual at this point. Celine's daughter calls. Mm-hmm. While Celine's taking the phone call, Hayes starts wandering around and he finds a piano. He sits down and he starts playing this really pretty song. And Celine comes over and she's like, "Did you write that? It's beautiful. I love it." He stops, turns, and now I start to feel a little bit of chemistry.
Mm-hmm. This guy is sitting at the piano. Celine had walked up to him and he puts his hand on her upper thigh, on the back of her upper thigh, right under her butt, and just kind of scoots her closer to him, pulling her up against him. He's sitting, she's standing. So his face is at her bra level. And the film goes silent, and it goes silent for an entire minute, which is an eternity for a movie. I think obviously that was intentional. They thought that the sexual chemistry kind of carried its own sound, but I kind of wish they would have played like a little sexy sound, Like imagine some like, "I don't want to live forever" type shit playing in the background.
Some This Kiss.
Yeah, This Kiss is more wholesome. I needed something a little more shay.
Barry Manilow.
Put on some Marvin Gaye, baby.
That's who I meant. Marvin Gaye, not Barry Manilow.
Yeah, I
don't. But yeah, so he pulls her into him. All right. They start kissing. Mm-hmm. Then she pulls away and goes, "I'm too old for you." Mm-hmm. He yanks her back and goes, "No, you're not."
Yes, dude. Okay. That was when I was like, yes, I feel it. I feel it. There's the chemistry. Like their kissing was so hot. Like every time they kissed in this movie. And that's what made me realize, okay, these two actors, they're feeling it. Okay. They're into it. Like they were into those kisses. Mm-hmm. It's just that some of the sexual tension before that was kind of lost in translation. But man, their kissing was hot.
Dude, when he yanked her back and said, "No, you're not," I was like, oh my goodness.
I should have saved my "boy, I would break your back" for this moment, but unfortunately I didn't.
But he brings her back, starts kissing her again, and then she pulls away. She's like, "No, we can't." He pulls her back again and they start kissing. And then she's like, "No, you should go."
You know what? I do have to say, real quick, side note, I'm glad he's 24. Like 24 and 40 is not so uncomfortable for me. Like, I feel like if he was 20, I would have been like, if he was 19, 18, I would have been uncomfy. But I feel like 24 is a grown man.
So I feel like if he was 18 and she was 34, I'd be like, ugh. But I don't know. I feel like a 24 and a 40-year-old have a little bit more in common than an 18-year-old and a 34-year-old.
So Celine at this point, she kind of stops it and she tells him, "You need to go back to your hotel." And it just so happens his driver was waiting right outside her house anyway, which like you have to think about these drivers for these celebrities. They're like, "Oh, great. I don't know. I have to be here just in case he decides he wants to leave." But it's like, is this going to be an all night thing? Like these poor drivers.
And listen, that driver knows what he went there to do.
Yeah. No, yeah.
How many times has that driver had to drive home a Hayes Campbell that just reeks of sex?
Oh, yeah, probably many times.
But before Hayes leaves, he takes his watch off. He takes it off. He lays it on like a little credenza in her hallway.
Mm-hmm. The boy knows his rom-com tropes, okay? He knows he's supposed to forget something behind so that they could see each other again. So listen, he was prepared. And my favorite part of this scene is the fact that the second Hayes' driver, drives off with him, Celine's daughter comes walking up to the front door. And I couldn't help but think, holy shit, her daughter was about to walk in on her mom fucking a boy band member in her freaking living room. Saucy.
But the daughter comes in and she's like, Mom, are you okay? She's like, oh yeah. She's like, are you high? Did you eat those edibles?
I don't know. I kind of love that. I love the way the body has its way of making chemicals that will legit make you feel like you're high.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when people are horny like that for each other, they're stupid. They will do stupid shit. It's like they're high.
Yeah. So Lynn takes her daughter to this summer camp that she's going to. And so Lynn's like, she's going to have like the whole summer, you know, to just kind of frolic. It's like like a whole month.
Mm-hmm.
Right after drop off, she's laying in bed and she gets a text from an unknown number.
An international number.
An international number. And it might as well have just been like, hey, you up?
Hey, you up? Yeah. It says, I can't get that kiss out of my head. I need to see you again.
And I love the fact that she just sent him a who dis.
She said, who's this? Obviously, it's Hayes. And he says that he got her number from the invoice from the art gallery. So she tries to leave him on red, but this guy he's thirsty. He keeps texting her.
Yeah, he does not let it go.
He tells her where he will be this weekend and he asks her to join him. So he's like, hey, I'm going to be in New York this weekend at this hotel. Come see me.
Yeah. And you know what? She thinks about it. She can't get that kiss out of her head either. And she does have his watch.
She does have his watch. So I think she uses that as an excuse. Like, he needs his watch. How else is he going to tell time? He's probably running late for everything.
Exactly. She needs to do the kind thing and return this man's watch. It was probably very expensive.
It's very expensive. He probably is so lost without it, missing all his appointments. So yeah, this thirsty ass bitch gets on a plane, on a whole ass plane.
From California to New York? Yeah.
So yeah, she gets on a plane from California to New York. And I'm just like, did he buy her plane ticket? Because
I mean, even if he didn't, he still kind of did in a sense, considering he bought out her art gallery.
Oh, that's true. That's true. So yeah, so she gets to New York. She goes to the hotel where she knows that he's staying and somehow she knows his room number. So she goes right up to it and walks past his security guard and knocks on his door.
Yeah, she walks in, takes off her coat, and she's wearing this gorgeous dress.
Mm-hmm.
It is skin tight. It's like lace.
Yeah, it's a white dress and it's sheer, like from like the hips up. And listen, we don't need to tell you, you know this, but Anne Hathaway is like 200 out of 10. Like she is drop dead stunning, gorgeous. She has a body most 20-year-olds would kill for. This scene is hot, like hot, hot, hot.
And she just goes, I brought your watch.
Mm-hmm. Listen, she went there to get it in, okay? Ain't no way around it. This is a dick appointment.
It's a dick appointment, okay? And she doesn't waste any time.
I was like, get it, girl. Live a little. You know what? The fact that you're almost twice his age is not your business, okay? Because he knows and he doesn't care. Like, it's not your business, girl.
Yeah, you know what? You guys are both consenting adults. And he's not even barely an adult, okay? He's not even barely an adult.
No, he can almost rent a car. I think you have to be 25 to rent a car. So he's almost there.
Okay, well, now you're making it weird.
I'm making it worse. Yeah. It's a very hot scene. You know, they start like the making out and we get like a little hand action. We don't see it, but his hand kind of goes under something. And a couple seconds later, this lady's having an orgasm. And I just want to say, if a guy is making you orgasm after touching you for 5 seconds, we need to see what's going on. You owe us a visual on exactly what's happening.
For science.
For science. Because, bitch, 5 seconds?
Listen, I have 5 seconds. Let me see.
Bitch, you don't need to gatekeep this, okay? Come on. That's not being a girl's girl.
Yeah, I agree. We need to know what's going on. Show us or keep it to yourself, okay?
Exactly.
Like, or don't even let us know what's happening.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, Hayes and Selene have very hot, steamy sex. And it is everything I said about the chemistry not being there goes out the window because, my God, they are devouring each other. It is hot, hot, hot.
Whenever these two are like touching each other like that, it is absolutely like off the charts chemistry.
Yeah, for sure. My husband, again, my husband's office is right next to mine. He walks into my office and he's like, hey, are you all right? And I was like, yeah, why? He's like, it's really quiet in here. And I realized that I turned the volume all the way down during this sex scene. I was like a little girl watching something I shouldn't. Like I turned the volume all the way down. So he was like, oh, I thought she was watching a movie. Like it's really quiet over there.
You're just in here watching girl porn.
What are you doing? Nothing. Close my door.
Defrauding the government. Get out of my office.
I'm committing federal crimes. Leave me alone.
And after their hot, steamy sex, there's this scene where she's been dicked down so good that she's like half asleep, half awake, just curled up on the bed. He's sitting up. He's wide the fuck awake. He's ordering room service. And he's like, do you want anything? And she's like, a BLT. And he orders it and he's like, do you want fries? And she takes a good 30 seconds to respond each time. And she's like, yeah, and a cookie plate.
Yeah, girl was worn out.
She was dicked halfway into a fucking coma. Okay.
She legit was. And this is such fan fiction, right? That like Harry Styles would put a grown woman into this. Like, honestly, like really young guys, they're not that experienced. What could he show her that she hasn't seen before?
Okay, so nobody come at me for what I'm about to say. Hayes Campbell is a little bit taller and a little bit broader than Harry Styles.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Hayes Campbell could dick somebody into a coma better than Harry Styles could.
Yeah, scientifically, that checks out. So here we are at the hotel room. Hayes and Selene have basically spent all night, and we get like a little montage of the night, okay? They're laughing, they're eating, he's singing, they're dancing. Mm-hmm. It looks like a good old time. Mm-hmm. All through the night.
He does have a show the next day.
Mm-hmm.
He plays the show, and then afterwards, he tells Selene, I'm getting ready to start the European leg of my tour. You should come.
And immediately, Selene has excuses, which I think is such a mom thing to be like, do something for myself? Absolutely not. She's like, I can't because of my daughter. And he's like, I thought your daughter was at camp all summer.
Yeah. And then she goes, the art gallery. He goes, I bought everything in the art gallery. You have nothing to sell right now. And she's like, fuck, you're right.
Yes. And then her third excuse is, I don't have any clothes. And he's like, bitch, I'll take you to Target. You know what I mean? Spare no expense.
And he's like, listen, I'll get you some Fruit of the Loom. That's what you wear, right? I have so many pairs we can share.
That's amazing. The last thing that Selene says is, what will people say? And he says, I don't care what they say, which I love. But then he follows that up with, if worse comes to worse, I'll just say you're my really attractive art consultant. Everyone has secrets. And so that kind of like rubbed me a little wrong because it like immediately he's like, you'll be my dirty little secret. I don't think that's a good sign.
It's not a good sign, but I think he's doing that for her benefit.
Yeah. So maybe he was just saying, if you're worried about what people will think, we'll just keep this low key. And so now we get a montage of August Moon, Hayes' band, performing shows across Europe. And we also see Hayes and Selene out on dates, like beach picnics, riding bicycles around, hotel hookups.
They are having a good old time in Europe.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is her eat, pray, love moment.
Yes, she is going to all these shows. She is hanging out with the band during the day and then just getting dicked down through the EU.
She's living the dream, to be honest.
She's living my dream. But they got lazy in Paris.
So they had been pretty careful about not doing any PDA when they were out in public. But one night, I think they're both a little tipsy in Paris, and Paris is the city of love. And they start kind of making out at a restaurant. And of course, pictures get taken.
So Len even pulls away. She goes, we shouldn't have done that. We slipped up. And he goes, it's Paris.
It's Paris.
Do they not have cameras in Paris?
I think he was saying it's the city of love.
Okay.
But one of my favorite little parts of this montage is that they make out in the rain. And I fucking love that trope, dude. You know that scene in Spider-Man where like Peter Parker's hanging upside down in a Spider-Man costume and Kristen Dunst like kisses him upside down in the rain? I love that scene.
When they get to Paris, he's like, hey, listen, he's like, we actually have some scheduled time off coming up, but me and Perry have actually rented a country house in the south of France. It's going to be quiet, secluded. And she's like, absolutely, let's go. The house that they rented is like this ginormous like country villa looking thing. It is gorgeous. And of course, they get all settled in and stuff. And Perry, one of the bandmates, he has his situationship there. And then there's two other young girls there that are there with other bandmates. These girls are early 20s, okay? They are super skinny and fit. Their boobs have not yet learned gravitational pull of the earth. And they're all wearing these super skimpy, like string bikinis. So Len is watching them outside at the pool through the window as she's getting ready to go out.
Obviously, she gets a very insecure moment where she looks in the mirror and she doesn't like what she sees, which honestly I call cap because Anne Hathaway looks better than all these young girls. Give me a break.
She should have walked out naked just to show them what's what.
Literally. And you know what's funny is that as you get older, you kind of become less precious about like being naked. And I don't know if it comes with like having kids and strangers watch a baby come out of you. I don't know if it comes from that, but like I remember in my early 20s, I would go to the gym, and at the locker room, I was always so self-conscious about changing and anyone catching a glimpse of my super tiny, skinny 20-year-old body. And now that I am like almost 40, I am like 40 pounds heavier, and I'm like just walking around naked, doing that move that men do in the locker room scenes and movies where they just like prop up one leg and take the towel and just dry between their butt cheeks. That's me in the locker room.
No, it does come from having kids, because that's when my preciousness about like nudity sort of vanish. When they're coming in to like check to see how dilated you are. They just leave the door open. There's a doctor, 2 nurses, a 4th grade field trip walking past the door. You're just fucking spread eagle. Okay, so I guess modesty's not a thing here, all right?
But yes, so this is what Selene is going through. I get her insecurity, right? Because I think she's not fitting in with this group. Like she was in her little bubble with Hayes, but now that it's Hayes and other people his age and his bandmate, she's starting to feel like she's not really fitting in.
Yeah. And so instead of wearing her rocking tiny blue bikini, she puts on a one-piece bathing suit, and then she puts on a denim muumuu.
Oh, girly pop, why did you even pack that? So yes, she's all covered up and she comes out and the girls are kind of snickering like, is this a funeral? Like, why is this lady wearing like this giant cover up?
Yeah. And so Len's trying to make conversation with the girls, she's trying to get to know them. So Len says, my daughter's a junior at this school. And one of the girls goes, oh my God, I have a friend that graduated from there a couple years ago. I wonder if she knows your daughter. They're just kind of rubbing salt in the wound that like, so Len is older than them. You might as well have just been like, hey, grandma, like instead of being so passive aggressive about it.
I honestly can't tell if they were being like this on purpose or if they were just young and stupid and not realizing how it came across. But the band member that's there points out to Selene that, remember that night in Coachella when Hayes interrupted the set list to say like, hey, I don't usually do this, but there's a song I need to sing because I just met someone. Remember that like impromptu, really kind of like precious moment? There's actually more to the story.
That comes up because the girls ask Selene how her and Hayes met. And she's like, we actually met at a meet and greet at Coachella. She's like, well, then he dedicated a song to me. And that's when the band member was like, oh, that.
Was it Closer? Was it the song Closer that very conveniently had the line about you're a little bit older?
Yeah, they're like, oh no, that's a bit that we do when one of us wants to hook up with a girl, or in Hayes' case, a woman. Yeah, we pretend to change the set list last minute.
And the girls kind of start giggling and they go, yeah, didn't he pull that on that one Swedish actress that he was obsessed with? God, she was so annoying. She was like, like older. She was like in her 30s. And imagine Selene is like 40 years old and they're talking about this older woman in her 30s. They were like, yeah, she was in her 30s and she was so clueless. Like she didn't realize that we didn't want her around.
Yeah, they're like, she just didn't take the hint and she hung around like all summer.
So I think it's a very important thing we have to note here that during one of their pillow talks, Selene opened up to Hayes about why her and her ex-husband got divorced. And she describes this really heartbreaking scene that she experienced where she was out to dinner with all their friends and she kind of made this little gossipy joke about someone they knew who was getting divorced because they got cheated on. And Selene says that the whole table went quiet.
And she said that, her and her husband left dinner. They went home. They paid the sitter. And she asked him about it. And he admitted to it. He said that it was a new associate at his firm. Her name was Eva. and she offered to forget it. She offered to forget all about it. And he said he didn't want to move past it, that he was in love and that he wanted a divorce.
And that was a really heartbreaking scene for Selene. Like, even when she was telling Hayes about it, she was tearing up and crying. So now you can imagine this is rubbing on that wound, because here she is again being laughed at for something that she didn't know, but like she's the joke in the room. Like everybody else knew except for her.
And so she handles it really maturely. She tells Hayes, I think it's time for me to go home. She's like, I fell for your fuckboy routine, and that's fine. That's fine. We both knew what this was, and our fun has come to an end, and that's fine. You know, finish out your tour. Have a great life. I need to go back to mine.
He tries to apologize. He tells her, I was stupid. I was just trying to impress you. There's only a few more weeks left in the tour. Like, and then we can hang out in LA. He's like, please, like, this doesn't have to end.
Yeah. And he's like, this isn't just a bit to me. Like, I really like you. I have feelings for you. Then he starts to turn the tables on her. And he's like, have you told anybody about me? He's like, you haven't told your daughter. He's like, have you told any of your friends, anybody? And she says, no. And he's like, why? He's like, are you ashamed? And she goes, I am ashamed.
At this point, she will not admit that she has real feelings for him. His eyes are watering, okay? He says, you didn't even give us a chance. And at this point, I'm reminded of the time he told her that his biggest fear in life is that he's just a joke. He's just like the stupid little boy band member that no one takes seriously. I think this moment where Selene is saying basically like, I'm kind of ashamed that I'm like here, it feeds into his insecurity that he's just kind of like a joke. And yeah, I have to say, I love the whole like two people being brought together because of mirror wounds and then triggering each other. I kind of love that, low-key.
I do love that. I hate that she was like, I'm ashamed. And she's not ashamed of him, but she didn't specify that. So she let him believe this. I would be like, that was a shitty move, girl.
I know it was a shitty move. And also because she was being so unemotional about it. And yet his eyes were watering, like he was super emotional about it. So he says, you know, I'm going to stay somewhere else tonight and I'll buy you a ticket so you can go home tomorrow. Selene gets to be sad in first class all the way home. So lucky bitch.
Yeah. So when she gets home straight from the airport, there is this package waiting inside her house. She opens it and it's the painting that her friend painted that she really loved. Hayes bought it for her.
Oh God, I love this painting. It's so beautiful. And remember, the artist of this painting was insistent on not selling it to anyone. And so Hayes had to convince them to sell it. And I think the only reason they agreed is because he told them like, hey, I'm buying it for Selene, who adores it. So I think it was really sweet for him to do this.
I think it was really sweet too. So Len, you can tell that she feels so bad about the way things went down with Hayes. But at this point, she's like, well, it's done.
What can I do? Yeah, it seems like the next day or very shortly after she gets home, Selene's ex-husband comes to the house because he's showing off the brand new car. He got their daughter. And he mentions like, oh, hey, the weirdest thing happened. One of our mutual friends was in Rome. And he said that he could have sworn he saw you with a really young guy.
And she's like, I was in Italy, yes. He's like, so you weren't making out with some guy? He's like, because that would be really inappropriate. That would be really weird. She's like, it would be. Yeah.
I cannot believe he has the audacity to shame her about it. And the fact that he left her for a much younger woman as well. So obviously, Selene is going through a breakup. She really liked Hayes. They had this whirlwind romance and now things are over and things kind of ended in a really bad way. Unfortunately, the day that Selene is heading to pick up her daughter from the summer camp, she gets a text message from Hayes.
And it says, I'm so sorry. I don't know how this happened. Stay off the internet.
Does she get on the internet right away?
She goes and she makes herself a cup of tea, then gets on the internet.
But yes, so essentially the news has broken that Selene and Hayes had an affair. And there is a picture of Selene in her bathing suit on a beach with him climbing over her. And in big letters, it says cougar.
She screams, closes the laptop. She's seen enough.
That is mortifying. But also there's pictures of them all over Europe. So like this whole time they thought they were being sneaky and getting away with it, but they weren't.
Yeah, there's paparazzi everywhere. So Len's like, shit. But she still has to do the mom thing and she still has to go get her kid from camp. On her way to camp, her phone is blowing up with all of her friends, with Hayes being like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. With her ex-husband being like, you lied to me. With her bestie being like, girl.
Yeah, I would be so mad at you if you were like jet setting with Harry Styles and you didn't even fucking tell me. She has no real friends. I'm gonna be completely real with you. She has no real friends, because if she did, she would have trusted one of them with this information.
Oh no, girl, listen, I would be like bathroom group calling through like Facebook Messenger, like, oh my God, guys, guess what? Like, there would be group chats going on.
So now Selene has to walk up to her daughter's summer camp and she has to face all these people looking at her, right? Because she's kind of big tabloid fodder on this particular day. And everyone's looking at her, and like this older woman, actually two older women, come up to her and are kind of like, hey, way to go. And I kind of love that, because it's kind of like the thing you would expect from men.
And then you just have Solene's daughter standing there with her arms crossed.
Yeah.
And then Solene gets a scolding from her daughter.
Yeah, of course, Selene's daughter is really upset because the whole summer they were talking on the phone all the time, and Selene was actively lying to her daughter. So her daughter says, I could have gotten over you dating this younger pop star, but I can't get over you lying to me because I have divorce trauma, Mom. Don't you remember? But when Selene's daughter is giving her this scolding, Selene is crying. She feels terrible. And she tells her daughter, like, well, it's over now.
Yeah, but honestly, like, did the mom really owe it to her teenage daughter to tell her this when, like, she thought it was just a summer fling? I don't know. Like, I don't really think that Solene owed it to her daughter to tell her.
So I think Selene has a realization at this point where she's like, you know what? It was really messed up what I did, how I ended things with him. Like, that wasn't right. So she decides to track Hayes down, and she somehow knows that he's at the recording studio. So she heads there. And I just thought it was really funny because he is singing this really sad song in the studio. And the song is about taking time to breathe and getting used to the new normal. Oh, God. The music in this movie is honestly atrocious.
But you know what? Like, they make up and she apologizes.
She finally admits that she did have all the feelings that he had for her, that she had them too. She says, I feel everything with you. And maybe you're right. Maybe it didn't have to end. He's teary-eyed. Like, this guy, he really was in his soft girl era for this role, you know?
Really in his tortured poets department era.
But like, not in a red flaggy way, like not a single red flag to be seen.
I wish there was at least one.
God, can we get a little cockiness? Like, he wasn't even cocky.
You know what? Some arrogance would have been nice, yes.
Just a little bit of arrogance.
But, you know, she confesses all of this to him and he's like, I wasn't expecting you to show up here. I wasn't expecting any of this. I need a minute. And he like looks away and he looks back at her. He's like, all right, I've had a moment.
Yes. He goes over and kisses her. That I love that.
They go back to Solene's house for like a game plan, like war strategy.
It's a war strategy meeting. Selene's daughter is there. Selene's friends are there. And Hayes is basically saying, okay, listen, Selene and I are going to date and things are going to get really intense and really weird.
Yeah, they're like, paparazzi is going to be everywhere. They're going to be all up in our business. They're going to be saying a lot of they're going to be saying a lot of shit. It's not going to be good for your mental health. And Solene and her daughter are like, cool, we'll delete our social media. We won't look at the headlines.
I mean, so don't you feel like it's genius to just not look at it? Like, if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one around to hear it, did it make a sound? It's the exact same thing with people talking shit about you on the internet. Like, if people are talking shit about you on the internet and you never see it, it's like it didn't happen.
Yeah. So after this whole meeting on how they're going to handle this, Hayes and Solene just start going out in public together.
Yeah.
They just start dating and living normally. But in the background of them dating and living their lives together, we get this montage of news clips and tabloid articles about them.
We're seeing Hayes and Selene living their best life. Like, they're having a blast. And, you know, the paparazzi's chasing after them. I love how Selene is blissfully unaware of how she's being perceived. And ultimately, it's not good. Like, ultimately, it seems like the public has decided to hate on her. Like, she's this older predator woman who's like manipulating this younger guy. And like, not just that, people love to do this, but they bring in the fact that she's a mom. Like, if she was a man, would anyone even bring up that he had a kid? You know what I'm saying? Absolutely not. But with her, it's like, oh, she's a bad mom. Why? You think moms don't want to get dick down?
How do you think she became a mom?
How do you think she became a mom?
And honestly, she's probably getting better dick from Hayes than she did from Dan.
Yeah, for sure. Fuck Dan.
Fuck Dan. Yeah, fuck Dan.
So I guess Hayes is working on his new album. So he's in the studio recording in LA, which is where she lives. So it's perfect. And he's going to social functions with her. They're going on dates. He's practically living at her house is what it seems like.
Yeah.
And there's paparazzi basically parked outside of her door all day long.
Yeah. And everything actually seems like their plan is really working and it's going great until one morning when the ex-husband comes to pick up the daughter for school. Hayes answers the door and was like, hey, you must be Dan. Nice to meet you. And Dan doesn't skip a beat. He just goes, what's your endgame, bro?
Yeah. The ex-husband is super annoyed and jealous. We love to see it. But I can't understand the audacity. Like, I don't know where he is keeping all of this audacity. Like, in which pocket? Like, he's not wearing cargo pants big enough to carry all this audacity.
I think men keep their audacity where our uterus is.
That empty space. Yeah, because they don't have a uterus, so they just have a big empty space. That makes sense. That checks out. That's where men keep their audacity. Yeah.
We have babies. They have audacity.
We literally just made a scientific discovery on our show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, men keep their audacity where our uteruses are, right next to their peepees. But Hayes is like, I don't know what you're talking about. Dan is like, oh, there's paparazzi parked out here. How dare you?
Dan is very conveniently leveraging the daughter as though like his daughter is in danger, which like low key, let me tell you, the people who date these like boy band guys, they get death threats. Like there are psycho fans out there that literally thought they could have dated this guy if this MILF hadn't come along.
No, there legitimately is. And there is some people crazy enough to be like enraged by that.
So yeah, the ex-husband is just teeming with audacity. He says to Selene, do you have any idea what they're saying about you? And she goes, no. And I love that. Dude, I mean, this is what I'm saying, where it's like knowledge is power, but then also there is kind of power in her willful ignorance of what people are saying about her. Because people think about this, right? They're publishing these things, they're saying these terrible things. What is the goal? The goal is to make her feel like shit. And she is not giving them that satisfaction. Therefore, she is weaponizing her ignorance to fly above the whole thing. And I love that.
She is. But Hayes goes and gets the daughter so her dad can drive her to school. But she like dips out of that house real fast to go with dad.
Yeah.
And Selene didn't even know that dad was driving her to school that day. So I'm pretty sure the daughter called and was like, Dad, can you come get me?
Yeah. So we are starting to see some cracks in Selene's life where like Selene is blissfully unaware, getting dick down every night. However, her daughter has to go to school and has to face the consequences of her mom being in the public eye.
Yeah. And right after the daughter leaves, Hayes comes and he's like, hey, I have to go. I'll just be gone for a couple of days. One of my mates is in trouble. I need to go help him out. I'll be back, but like I have to go help him. And Selene's like, yeah, of course, go. And you know, this whole thing with her ex-husband just happened. And now Hayes is leaving.
Selene is aware that there is a media frenzy, obviously, not just because of paparazzi outside of her house, but the paparazzi are outside of her art gallery. It's starting to affect business.
And so they have to start making a by appointment only rule. So now people can't just see pretty art walking off the street and buy something. They have to make an appointment and come in, which is also going to cut down on business.
Yeah. And we learned that Selene's daughter is being bullied at school.
Yeah. She said, do you remember that boy that I was telling you about? He said, tell your mom I'll be 18 in a year.
And the girls at school are asking Selene's daughter for a dick pic of Hayes. And so, you know, this girl, like, listen, high school is hard, man. High school is hard. If you could get through high school without anyone noticing you, that's a win. You know what I'm saying? If you've got eyes on you in high school, that's already hard. Imagine having the world's eyes on you.
Yeah, that's rough. Honestly, I think the kindest thing would be to put her in like a private school.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, we're starting to realize that Selene and Hayes are really getting backed into a corner here because the effects that her relationship is having on her life, on her family's life, on her employees' life, like it's not going away. They've been together for what appears to be several months now. and it's not getting any better. When Selene goes to pick up Hayes from the airstrip, she has come to a decision. She tells him that they need to break up, and she's very real with him. She's like, it's because it's affecting my daughter and I have to choose my daughter.
Yeah. So he's like, no, I don't want to break up. I'll put a pause on the band. I'll quit the band altogether.
Yeah.
And she's like, you can't do that. Just because you quit the band doesn't mean this is all going to go away.
Well, she says it's going to make it worse, which is true, because if he quits the band, if he tries to become a recluse and like not be famous anymore, there's only going to be more intrigue. Like, who is this woman that got the world's biggest pop star to quit? So in a sense, they're trapped. Like they can't go forward. There's no way forward for them. And it's really heartbreaking. And he even says to her, you're not going to fight for us? It breaks my heart because once again, his eyes are twinkling because he's a crier. Can't relate, but it's sweet.
When they get back to Celine's house, they have this really like tender goodbye scene.
I know. He tells her something that kind of cracked my heart a little bit. He said, I auditioned for this band when I was 14. It shouldn't ruin my whole life. And I'm just like, oh, like he was just a little 14-year-old boy. Like, hey, I want to dance and sing. Like he didn't know he was going to be this mega star.
Yeah. And she's like, you have a long, bright life ahead of you. And they have this really tender goodbye scene. At the end of it, he says to her, he's like, in 5 years, your daughter will be out of school. We should try again. And she's like, that's too long. Like, if you find the chance for happiness, you should take it, and I will too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does tell her that he loves her, and she says it back. And it is a very tender goodbye scene. It's not, they don't have like goodbye sex, which like, maybe you should have goodbye sex, but then you might change your mind in the morning. Because you know what's funny? She only came to the realization that it was too much when he had left. So it was like the effects of the what is it called? Digmatization? What is the adverb for digmatized?
Digmatization.
The digmatization of, anyway, you guys get it. She was, when he left, the cloud lifted and she was able to see things clearly. So I think had they slept together that night, she might have been like, I mean, maybe we can make it work. Like my daughter can live with her dad. Like,
right. But after they say goodbye, we get a time lapse. We get a little epilogue of 5 years later.
We cut to 5 years later. They weren't messing around. He said, let's see how things are in 5 years. And the movie really said, cut to 5 years later.
So Lynn is on a Zoom call with her daughter. So her daughter's done with college. She's living in Chicago. She's having the time of her life. She looks super mature. And then we have Selene, who is still single.
That night, Selene is watching TV, just scrolling through the channels, and she finds Hayes on a late night TV show. He's doing a live performance, and girl, he grew up. He's looking so mature. Which, I mean, he's my type now, okay? He looks older and tortured. Like, yes, yes, yes. Gimme, gimme, gimme.
He's wearing a suit.
There is something to me very attractive about maturity. I don't find baby-faced boys attractive. You know what I mean? It's like they want you to make them a sandwich. I just don't have the energy for that.
Listen, 29-year-old Hayes Campbell, he's making the sandwich.
He makes his own sandwiches.
He makes his own sandwiches. He is on this late night show. He just got done performing a new song. And the host is like, so, you know, you just got done with your tour. You've been on the go for the past year or so. What's next for you? And Hayes says, I actually think I'm going to go to LA. There's somebody I want to see there.
When we cut to Selene's reaction, she doesn't seem to react at all. She's just staring blankly at the TV.
Bitch, did you hear him?
Did you hear what he said? He's coming for you, girl.
Did you see that slim fit suit, bitch?
Time to go shave your legs, girly pop.
It's time to go shave everything.
Girl, you better be like a baby seal when he gets there.
Yes.
How long's the flight? 5 hours? You got 5 hours to be a baby seal.
You better go get that Brazilian you've been putting off.
But yes, so obviously the next scene is Selene at her art gallery. the way I would not be able to focus after seeing that interview. Because honestly, what if he wasn't talking about her? Because he could have met somebody else. It's been 5 years. He could have met somebody else in LA.
It seems like they've had zero communication over the last 5 years. No phone calls, no texts, no nothing.
Yeah, which like I kind of call cap on that. Like I call cap that this guy is just going to show up out of the blue without first testing the waters. She could be married. She could follow his relationship status because it's probably public, but he doesn't know if she's married, pregnant with somebody else's kid.
She's not, but you know what? She could be, goddammit. It's Anne Hathaway, all right? She could have anybody's baby.
Yeah, she could have my babies. I would 1,000% get Anne Hathaway pregnant. It would be a miracle of science, but I would do it.
I would go through great lengths for Anne Hathaway to have my baby.
But anyway, so yeah, Selene's in her art gallery, minding her business, somehow focusing on work. And she gets told, just like that initial scene, hey, there's someone here to see you.
And she goes up to the front of the gallery and Hayes turns around and his 29-year-old chiseled jaw glory. He doesn't look like he needs vitamin C anymore.
He doesn't. He's got a scruff.
Yes.
The light is gone in his eyes, which is like the hottest thing, you know?
I know.
Like life beat him down, you know? It's like,
He's wearing that suit again. It looks like his shoulders have broadened a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The SSRI is just making his skin glow.
But yeah, the scene ends with a shot of Selene just smiling. There's this kind of like a nostalgic, sad, excited, like a lot of emotions on her face. And that's where it ends. I guess it's just for us to imagine what happens. What do you think happens with their relationship? Do you think they make it the distance?
Yes.
I think so too. I think they make it, if only because he is a completely flat character that doesn't have any red flags. So, of course.
He has to have at least one now.
Yeah, right.
He's matured.
What if she doesn't like him anymore because he's old?
Actually, you know what? You're a little old for me.
I mean, I just feel like you're either attracted to really young men or you're attracted to older men.
I guess you could be like bi-ageal.
Perhaps, I suppose.
I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm just saying that older, little more mature looking Hayes really does it. Like, he doesn't look like a fuckboy anymore.
No. Well, anyway, our teapot is empty for today.
Don't worry, more is brewing in on the way. We'll be back next week with another episode.
See you next time.
Bye.